Okay, I just started recording. Let me start my backup recording. So this is a backup of my face, and also the slightly higher quality audio that's coming through here. Let me just make sure my microphone that's being used is the correct one that I'm wearing here. Yeah, I think that should be the correct one. Um, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining, both to those of you who are here in real time and those who may be joining by recorded video. This is our online orientation session. I do plan to hold synchronous meeting times on a weekly basis. It won't be at this time. It will be on Friday, at least as it's scheduled right now, just because it's a little bit more convenient for me. And it's my online office hour. So if people want to join and somehow being able to ask questions in a synchronous setting is helpful, then great. That's what the session is for. Also, you don't have to feel like you have to join. So most of the session, I'll be making the recording available, and you can just catch up that way. And anything that you are required to know for class, it's not. It's gonna be in multiple different formats. So it's not like you have to keep up with the recording for something that's required for you to do well in the class. It's all kind of enrichment material. So you can also ignore it, although I do appreciate people keeping up and following along. So welcome, thank you for being here. Let me just, let me mute the chime thing that chimes. I know only I hear it, but I don't want to appear distracted. Let me start out with what's going to become my usual welcome message in the chat. And I will spend a little bit of time at this first session and probably this Friday session just explaining some of my setup for these sessions. So let me start out with my usual welcome message. I drag this to my shared screen. Let me just put in the message. I'll move it away. And so welcome. Thank you so much for joining in this online orientation session. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or put your question into the chat window. Let me explain one convention that you will see me use in this session. So it's that you're going to be basically be hearing me speak nonstop. And if you ever take my in-person class, or classes with the in-person component like my physics 4A, 4B, you will see that I've been taught properly on how to teach. I was a GSI at Berkeley starting the first time I was GSI was in 2006, and one of the first things that they teach you when they are first teaching you to teach is how to use silence as a pedagogical tool, because sometimes instructors do this where you end up asking a rhetorical question that wasn't intended as a rhetorical question. You just ask a question and you can't outlast your students in the awkward silence, and you end up answering your own question. The first thing they teach you when you're learning to teach is how not to do that. And in an in-person setting, I can just shut up, wait until someone starts speaking. I know how to do it, but whatever human psychology is involved there, it just never works in the online setting. I've tried it, and in the awkward silences online, like I've held like 5 minutes of silence, and no one feels pressure to speak in these online settings. So for these online sessions, especially the recorded sessions, I'm going to go with a different convention that's more common in the broadcasting world, of minimizing dead air. In fact, radio stations, I think they still get fined if they have long periods of dead air when they are transmitting, but what they're transmitting is silence. You're not supposed to do that. I'm not going to get fined. This is just an online Zoom session. But just so that we are making use of this time effectively, I'm going to be speaking nonstop. So I do really mean, everything I say in this welcome message. If you have any questions, please just unmute yourself and ask. Don't feel like you are interrupting anything, because frankly, I'm not giving you any other choice. You want hear long enough of a silence for you to naturally start speaking. You just have to unmute yourself and start speaking, and then I will, pause so that you can be heard, and then I'll address. Now, sometimes if people might not feel comfortable doing that, then please put your questions into the chat window. One warning, I guess, anything that's in the chat window to everyone, that'll get captured in recording. So if you're not comfortable doing that, what you can do instead, after I've dragged this off to my other screen, is you can change the recipient to me and send it to me privately. Then I can still see it and make sure it's addressed. So let me actually move this back to my not share the screen. And let me first, I guess, explain my setup here. And I won't do this explanation at every session, just this session and probably this Fridays. So for this virtual online orientation session, soon to be virtual class session, I have a two-screen setup. So my main screen is what hopefully everyone sees shared here. So just so you know, the physical space, the left top corner, I'm looking at it right now. Right top corner, I'm looking at it right now. Right bottom corner, left to bottom corner. So when you see me looking in those directions, I'm within that kind of general space. I'm looking at the same screen that you're looking at. Let me hide this away. I think it's been on long enough. And now, there are other windows and things that I need to manage in this session. All those other Zoom windows, they are over here on my second screen that's physically here. And there's some aspect of unnaturalness with these video conference settings. So when it looks like I'm looking at you, it's because I've trained myself to look at this little camera hole. I'm not actually looking at you. So for people who are here in real time, again, thank you for being here. When I'm actually looking in your direction to gauge your reactions, if you have any questions, I'm looking in this general direction. And in these sessions, most times people won't have their videos on. Totally fine. No pressure. In fact, the video on sometimes it's a little bit distracting for me. But there are other ways to react in Zoom. So I guess the main thing I'm looking at from time to time as I glance over here is I'm looking at the chat window to see if there are any questions that someone might have sent to me privately. So that's a brief-ish explanation of my setup. I got a bunch of things that's helping me monitor like this. This is like an improvement in Zoom in the last year or so. I can actually see what I'm sharing, so that every now and then when there's no one here, I can still be sure I'm sharing the correct things. Speaking of Zoom improvements, there's this new thing that started popping up. This AI companion thing. And I am enabling it, and I guess I have to do this every single time. So I will set it so that it's not restricted in any way. These, I don't know, unless Zoom has your email, like you won't get anything via email because Zoom doesn't have it. But in terms of can you use AI companion? Sure, if you want to. I've tried to set a setting that's as permissive as possible, and if it's somehow useful, then great, use it. I don't know how much I'm gonna be using it, and I guess if you are somehow using it and this is helpful, then let me know. At some point, if no one's telling me that they are using this, I might just stop paying attention to it, just so that I'm not. There's a cost to complexity, and I don't want to add stuff for the sake of adding things if it's not useful to anyone. So, but for the time being, since it's a new-ish feature and it doesn't cost anything on my part to enable it, I've enabled it. If you are finding it useful somehow, let me know so that I can be reminded to make sure to turn it on, especially if I always have to. I've done this for the previous meeting too, but it feels like I have to do this every single meeting to make sure the settings are permissive. Maybe there's something I can do in the Zoom website. I'll look at it after the session. Welcome. I think I've talked about all the logistical things. This is our first of the synchronous online meeting time, and in case there are any questions about like is this required, do you have to be here? Nope, it's my office hour. I do encourage people to attend if you can. If you have questions, please ask, but it's office hour. You are never required to be at office hour. So every time I set up these sessions, I guess Fridays probably, you are going to see me kind of send out a reminder, roughly formatted like this. And this is mainly for me, so that I can be sure to go through everything that's important and I don't forget anything. So let me start on the regular agenda and just start from the top and just work the way down. There's something that I do want to do, but I'll mention it as we go through the course demo. I have to. So again, I haven't taught this class in like 5 years. So a lot of the things I do now, I'm kind of taking it from what I started doing for my physics 4A and 4B, 4C classes. And those classes have in-person lab meeting once a week. And I have to remind myself that this is 100% asynchronous. Some of you, I may never see you in person, and if I see you, I'll try to talk more about the required one-on-one meeting when I start the course demo. And some of those I have to I have to kind of figure out some of the logistical details, because again, a lot of what I'm used to doing now for the last 2-3 years, it hasn't been in the context of this class. So let me start out with the intro. Hi, my name is Andrew Park. I'm your instructor for Physics 10, and this is one of, so I try not to say this, I say this only with this class and Physics 4C when I teach it, which probably will be not for a long time. This is one of my favorite classes to teach, especially in the online setting. This class was my introduction to teaching online back in 2016. And there are a lot of things that I think I have improved. I've learned better way to do things. Ultimately, so before 2016, I have been teaching for 10 years, but at UC's teaching part-time here at COA, they've been all 100% in person. I haven't taught anything online until this class. And I feel like I learned a lot trying to improve teaching this class. So I'll say more as part of the course demo. My name is Andrew Park, and I'm your instructor. A few beginning of semester notes. This is basically a reminder for me to go back to the very first announcement that hopefully you saw, and just to remind you to set up the correct settings so that you are reachable. Some of you, if I don't see you on the online course side, I might eventually end up calling you, but that takes a lot of time. I have to be in the office to be calling from a 501 number, so so I want to make sure you are reachable by email if possible, because it's a lot easier for me. And my main ask for you is, if you're using Peralta email as your main email and you're checking it at least once a day, great. I think that's everything I need to be able to reach you when I need to reach you individually. If you're not using Peralta email as your main email, then please forward Peralta email to whatever your main email is. There's an instruction for forwarding your Peralta email. And I think in Campus Solutions, you can also change your preferred email. Whenever I have to reach out to you by email, that's what I do. I go to Campus Solutions, look up your email address, and write that way. So please make sure you are reachable by email so that I don't have to call you. In the first 2 weeks, some of you who are not reachable by email, I might end up calling you, because if you somehow forgot semester started this week and you don't check your email regularly, like there's no other way you to be contacted. Hopefully the phone number we have on file for you is current phone number. Sometimes I get wrong number when I do that. So please check your email regularly. Now, email is my first backup method of communication. It's a matter of organization. People do things other than taking online classes with email, and everything that's a course related, as much as possible, I would like to keep it within this Canvas site. And a lot of the some of the communication methods that I use, it'll work best if you set these notification settings. Some of the default settings might be fine, but please double check and make sure these notification settings are set in the way that I recommend. You can go to notification settings either by following this link in the announcement, or you can go through your profile and notifications. They both go to the same page. Let me go to notifications here. So on this notifications page, you can see that my preference for notifications is basically almost everything is notified immediately. My thought process is anything that doesn't happen that often, like group membership. I haven't gotten one of these notifications in wow, close to 10 years, maybe 8 years. Like it never happens. So even though it's set as notify immediately, I'm never really bothered by it. Now you might be taking online classes at multiple institutions, and sometimes these notifications can be too much and you want to turn some of them down. I get it. I have turned some of these down myself, like all submissions. I started out by setting it as notify immediately, but then I realized that that means basically there's anytime any kind of submission I would be notified, and that was too much, especially with the early submissions and all that. I do still get notified of late submissions immediately so that I can keep track of who's catching up and all that. Especially in these first 2 weeks as I need to decide on who to drop. So that's my default recommendation. Set everything as notify immediately, and if something's starting to bother you, then turn those down, like I'm doing here. Now, if you don't want to do that, it's too much communication, then I strongly recommend that you set at least these 3 things as notify immediately. The very first thing is the announcement. So all the course related announcements, like this welcome to week 1 announcement, I'm gonna post it as Canvas announcement. And if you didn't set this up as notify immediately, you are probably getting a notification about this meeting, this welcome to week 1 message right now, because I posted it late last night. And these daily summaries, they come out like a little bit after 6 p.m. So you want to now. I do try not to announce anything where you need to react within 24 hours. So like I told you about this meeting time, like in a previous message. But like when you set this as no daily summary, then there can be up to 24-hour delay, and why introduce that delay? If you set it as notify immediately, then every time there, usually I try to limit to maybe 1 or 2, maximum 3 announcement per week, and you will get it immediately. Like in the old days, it would have been an email announcement, and I still want you to receive it like an email. That's why I'm asking you to set announcement as notify immediately. And now, as we progress through the class, there are things that come up, like people fall behind, and I need to ask you, are you planning on staying in class? Those will first come to you by Canvas message. So that you receive those as if I sent you an email, I ask you to set conversation message notification as notify immediately. That way, when I send you a Canvas message by Canvas conversations tool, you'll get that like an email. And if you don't get conversation messages in email, then I have to wait a couple of days and then maybe eventually send you an email that'll add delay that that was unnecessary. And the third and the last thing, this now won't be as important as it used to be. Before, there used to be more Canvas native assignments with grading feedback within Canvas. I'm not doing as much of that this semester, so if you have this turned off, it won't matter as much, but still, there are still a few things where you will have submission comments. That's when I leave feedback within Canvas assignment items. I guess the one important one is one that's going to be labeled final course letter grade. Anything that affects your final course letter grade, I'll be leaving comment there. And if you have notification turned on, then the notification that you receive will be your documentation of what I told you in require the one-on-one meeting. So I do recommend turning this on. I've heard from my colleagues who teach online as well. Sometimes they are frustrated that their students don't get the messages they are leaving for them, and I think a lot of that comes down to you don't have submission comment notification turned on. So your instructor leaves grading feedback, thinks you got it, and if you set this as notification off, then you never got it, and you will never get it. So set it to some level of notification. If immediately is too often, then at least maybe daily summary. So those are the three things that I strongly recommend that you set as notify, some sort of notification, immediate notification if possible. There's one other thing that I do think I want to recommend that you set it as some level of notification. That's under discussions. Not any of these other things, which can be a lot. I get it. Some of the online classes are running away where there are like 40 notifications about discussion replies. My class isn't set up that way, and if you want to turn this off, fine, doesn't affect me. But the new topic notification, this I would ask you to set it at some level of notification, maybe immediately or daily summary. The one way in which you will see this used is for the recordings. So for the first week or so, when the recording for these online sessions are available, so for today and the Friday session, I will post an extra announcement in the announcements telling you that recording is available. But I'm gonna stop doing that starting in week 2. And what I am asking you to do is, if you want to be notified when those recordings are available, turn on this new topic notification so that as I post the recording into discussion, you will be notified immediately. So yeah, that's and the reason I will stop making those extra announcements in the second week is kind of relying on that your preferences are reflected here. If you want to be notified of the recordings, you would have turned this on. And I have a second reason why I want people to turn this on. So the discussions in this class are set up in a way where anybody can post, and that setting is only useful, I think, if a good number of people actually get notification of new topics being posted. This doesn't affect anytime there's like replies in a graded discussion, so I think this will be minimally bothersome, even for those of you who are in an online class with lots of online graded discussions. So yeah, those are the main lines of communication. I do like you to make sure they are open, and yeah. So yeah, that was the reminder for me to go through these a few beginning of semester notes. Again, these first 2 weeks is when people get used to the operation of online classes like this. So if I'll be monitoring who's where, and people who haven't turned the things in that are due tomorrow on Thursday, I'll reach out depending on what kind of activity I see. Either send you an email or maybe call you. I'll probably start calling people maybe Friday. If I can remember. So I want to spend most of the time doing the course demo and highlighting some of the things that are still under construction. But let me start out, let me make sure that this thing is posted. And I guess I also have to make sure to publish one other thing. So one thing that I have to publish is the office hour survey, and I used to set it up where I didn't decide on the office hours until the first week of the semester, get survey result and then try to set an office hour after that. And a lot of times the office hour that ended up getting set up didn't really strongly depend on the survey, because most of the times survey results weren't strongly leaning one way or the another. So what I'm doing, so that I do have office hours scheduled even this week. Tomorrow, I have office hours from 5:30 to 6 p.m. in Atlantic 100, where I have lab in-person classes at 6 p.m. Soon. So the times are already set, and the virtual class session I already set up one time based on basically when it's easiest for me. And I do still want your feedback. And if any of these times are really inconvenient for people who would like to participate, then I'm open to changing or scheduling additional times. So that's really what this survey is for. So each of the questions, tell you what's already been scheduled, and it's asking you, if it doesn't work for you, then tell me when it would work. And same thing with the, I only have, because these online sessions are my online office hour, I only really have in-person office hours that's regularly scheduled. And for those of you who might want to make use of in-person office hours, then look at these times. If none of these will ever work for you, then okay, then let me know what other times might work for you. If there's enough people favoring a particular time, then I'll definitely consider it. And these two questions, there might be some other requests, considerations that those two don't capture. That's what this third question is for, just basic, any other times that any other considerations you might want for either virtual class session that's online or the in-person office hour. Now, one thing that I want to simply adding online availability during in-person office hours. I think people who request it, they don't realize how much burden it is, because usually in-person office hours, it's super easy for me. I make sure I'm here. I'm usually working on other stuff. It's no burden to me to be here in person, but to be available online in addition, I have to set up all the equipment. It's actually a lot of work for me, especially no one's using that time. And so if you are thinking, these times would work great for you, except that it would only work online, then that's fine. Just let me know what days you'd like to meet on Zoom during this time. Then for those specific instances, I can be online. I just don't want to set up all the meeting stuff, and like if it's 4 times a week, then that's like 60 times a semester, and like none of it gets used. That's a huge waste of my time. That's why this note is here. But like whenever I have an in-person office hour, you can assume that I will be available online if you ask, but you do have to ask. Yeah, so I just published this survey, so if you know where to find it, you should be able to answer it, but it's a question of where do you find it. I disabled the quizzes link, so you won't find the quiz sidebar here. I'm going to put a link to this survey in the announcement telling you the recording is available. So that's where I'll put in the link. There's one other place where you can find the link, except it's a thing that I don't want you to use, so I don't want to be sending any mixed messages, so I don't want you to use it. I mean, I'm not stopping you from using it, but I don't want to be telling you to use it this one time and then ignore it. No, I'm just going to be telling you in a bit to just ignore it entirely. One other thing I want to make sure I don't forget, it's this class survey. This is one of those things that I've been doing this with my Physics 4 classes, and I usually do this during the lab session to make sure everyone kind of accesses it and answers it. For this class, we don't have any synchronous meeting times, and I was thinking, would I have people do it here? But there aren't that many people here either. So I think I kind of anticipated that. So I think what I'm gonna do is, I think I am going to publish it, and I guess there's no reason to restrict when it will start becoming available. So let me publish it, and I did place it in modules. So it's actually gonna stop you from progressing in modules unless you do the survey. So hopefully not many people already got past all of the getting started modules. So where the surveys is here. So if you are already in week 1, sorry to interrupt you. Hopefully the system will require you to go back and do this survey before you can continue to access week 1 module. So let me have that there, and if this arrangement works okay this semester, then I'll just have it set up this way from the start in future semesters. Again, I'm coming back to teach this class again, and some of the things I started doing in the last 5 years I haven't been trying it with this 100% online class. So, if you suddenly stopped having access to week one, hopefully this didn't confuse too many people. I'll see if it did. I'm sure I'll get questions from people who got confused. So I think that's everything in the second item. Feedback on virtual class session and office hour schedule. I again forgot to do this, but there aren't that many people here, so I think it's fine. I think that the graded survey is actually a lot better. It'll get feedback from everyone. Sometime after Friday, I'll take a look at it, and if there's any adjustment that's needed, then I'll communicate that through course announcement. So we have about a little under 30 minutes remaining. Let me do most of that to do a little bit of course demo, and I'll talk a little bit about grading approach in this class and some of the things, logistical details that we still need to figure out, and I will point to some under construction stuff. So let me turn you into a test student so that I can work through the course like someone who's new to this class might. Let's say I got the link to the course in the dashboard, click on it, and this is the page that I'll land on. And so on this page, there's one thing I want to highlight, mainly to tell you to not use it. And it's this to-do bar on the side. And if I could disable it, I would disable it. In fact, you can see that I disabled most stuff in the sidebar. There's no link to assignments, no link to quizzes, no link to anything that you don't absolutely need. Like I might have disabled grades, except then I think I'll have too many complaints. So that's the only reason I didn't disable grades. I would have disabled it if I thought too many people would worry too much. This to-do bar, here's the reason why I'm telling you to ignore it. There's certain ways in which this could work. Like if you're using this to keep track of announcements, great. That's really the only valid use of this, because this widget, it only displays one most recent announcement. So like the very first announcement I made, you wouldn't see it here. So like if you're keeping track of announcements that way, then great, I got no objection to that. Everything else you might do here, it causes more confusion than being useful. You know, people look at it, you think it's something for me to do. Let me do this discussion, the first assignment item that I see. And you go to that link and you are confused because it says it hasn't been unlocked yet. And I get this messages saying, Professor, could you please unlock this? It's due tonight. It'll be due tomorrow night. It's due tonight, and I can't access it. And my contention with this error message is that it's incomplete. It's in passive voice. This topic is part of the module and hasn't been unlocked yet, and it's missing the agent. It hasn't been unlocked yet by you, not me. I mean, I did kind of set up the things that locks it, but I actually cannot unlock it for any individual person. You have to unlock it by completing the prerequisites. That's the module requirements that force you to go through the class in a linear order. So, if you read through these messages, then you can kind of figure that out. But sometimes when people are in a hurry, it's 5 minutes to midnight, and and then people panic and don't read the rest of the messages. And so the to-do bar, it gives you the links to the assignments and whatnot, but there's a reason I disabled the assignments link on the sidebar. I don't want people skipping to the assignments. The course is organized in a particular way that I want you to see, and simply, jumping to the assignment, at some point in the semester, I'm not going to stop you from doing that, but it's still, I don't think it's the most productive approach to any online class. And if I could disable this to-do bar, I would. But since I can't, I'm simply going to tell you to ignore it, not use it. And from my perspective as an instructor, I never see these items. That's why it took me a while to figure out that to-do bar was confusing students. Because from my perspective, I see these. I see things for me to do, not things for you to do. So whatever is on the student to-do bar, it's an afterthought. In the course design, I usually don't see it. I'm not really thinking about it. And for that reason, even though the office hour survey link is there, I'm not going to tell you to use it. I will just put the link to it in the announcement telling you the recording for the orientation session is available. So the way to start in this class is, after you land on this beautiful homepage, or the old homepage, this is the exact same banner image I had in 2021 and before. Read this homepage, and I think I updated everything. It's an online class, 4-unit class, lots of material here, and click on Start Here button below to get started. That worked for the first time you are here. It's a static link. It'll always come to this page, and first time you are here, this is all probably material you have seen before. So you can do that. Read through the material. There's lots of kind of introductory information. This is the information that might have been on 20-page syllabus. My syllabus is not 20 pages, and it's all here presented in a hopefully sensible-ish order. And right now, what I'm doing, it's not really something that I recommend the people to do. Simply, clicking next and moving on without having read it. And that's why, for certain items, so let me backtrack a little bit and start from, let's say you've seen those first few pages, you're coming back to the course maybe tomorrow, and you're trying to resume the class. What I recommend that you do for someone like that, you have already started, you're not trying to start again, you're not trying to go to this first page all over again, it's waste of time. To continue the class, use the modules view. So when you go to the modules view, you will be able to see everything that's available. Unfortunately, right now, only through week 5. I'll talk about that a little bit. But you will be able to see everything that is available, even the things that you can't access yet. And in this modules view, you can both see everything that's available. I'll get to that in a little bit. And you can see what's required. So for that page that I simply clicked through and didn't really read, a lot of the pages are set up with a view requirement, mainly as an expression of opinion that I feel like I've done my job by making the information available to you. Online class expectations, it's available to you. I think you should read it. Having said that, I'm not really willing to put in much more effort beyond that to make sure you read it. There are some pages where my expectation goes slightly beyond that. That's like this page, Welcome to Physics 10. There is content here. There's kind of physics-related content. The things that you really should read. You shouldn't simply know where it is. You should also know what the content covers. So on pages like that, I put mark as done requirement. And mark as done has a specific meaning in this class. It just means, oh, wait, I don't explain it here. I think I might explain in one of the later pages. It means you take responsibility for knowing the material there. It's not all that much more onerous than the other one. It's just one extra click. And move on. Now it's a toggle button, so you can do it this way. You can maybe mark it as done, so you can see what else is ahead, and then you can come back and you can unmark it. Then it'll have unclear that. So it's a way for you to keep track of basically what you have done and what you have to come back later when you have more time and do it again. And this page, I will update it periodically. Right now, I'm working through reorganizing the lecture videos for this class. I'm actually done through lecture 11, but I guess I'll update all the links when I'm done with the unit 2, probably. But this is the page with a link to just one consolidated page with the links to everything that we use in the class. This is our textbook. One thing that is worth mentioning, I do say this in lecture videos several times. When they ported my textbook to LibreText, they didn't preserve the chapter and the section numbers. So let me show this to you side by side. So we have old version that used to be hosted through OpenStax, and we have newer version that is through LibreText. And when you look at the PDF, you can kind of see, ooh, let's see how well it works. My internet connection is fast, so it might work fine as it is. I don't know. If I have to wait longer than a couple minutes, I'll just think I have some version on my computer locally. Oh wait, I think it's loading. So left hand side is the old version, right hand side is the newer version. And when you look at this, I think I can explain here. So all the chapter numbers have been shifted down by one. So what I used to call chapter 1 here, LibreText made it chapter 0. So so if in the older version of the lecture videos, when I talk about chapter 1, because there was chapter 1 introduction, that's now chapter 0 introduction. So there's the shift. And each chapter used to have an introductory section that was just a part of this link here. That became its own section on LibreText. So the section numbers are shifted, I guess, up by one. So what was in chapter 2, section 1, displacement, is in chapter 1, section 2, displacement. So sorry for this confusing setup. Maybe over many number of years, when I replace all the lecture videos, I can stop reminding people that there was a shift in numbers. But until then, so the lecture videos do kind of remind you as part of the introduction that there's a shift in the chapter and the section numbers. Sorry for that confusing bit. It's easy. If it's easy to fix, I would have fixed, but it's not that easy to fix. Okay, so let me keep going. Now, as you go through, again, I'm going through these modules in a way I don't recommend, where I'm simply, flipping through the pages, not reading it. I sometimes joke, a test student is my worst student because he never does anything he doesn't feel he has to. Every now and then, there are certain pages where I feel strongly enough that you should actually read what's there. And what I just clicked next to through honor code plays, it's one of those. And it's not just the mark as done, because mark as done is simply another click. So here I actually have to do something. So if you go to modules, you can see what the requirement is. So for the honor code pledge, the requirement is you have to complete the quiz. It's not mark as done, it's not view, it's not submit. You have to score at least 1.9 points. So let's go through that. Now, it's not a quiz, because my feeling about it is if it's simply like a syllabus quiz, then I feel like it doesn't necessarily encourage you to read it. You can just do Control F, find the material. So the way this has been set up is there's a portion of the online course honor code that I really care about. So it's set up to make you type it. So when you look at the quiz, so this is actually one of the reasons I started doing this demo. I want to first tell you the ways in which people have been doing this wrong, so that when people do it wrong that way, I can send them this video. So sometimes people just type in their name because they are used to seeing items that say that type your name as an indication that you agree to this. No, I want you to actually read it. So simply typing your name isn't enough, and that's not the instruction. The instruction is type the below indented text in the answer box. So this whole text, you should type it. Now, this is the sad reality that both online and in-person classes, but sometimes more so with online classes, there are people who take these classes thinking that they don't want to do any work. Their goal is to learn as little as possible, basically cheat through everything they can. In fact, I think, is it Cluely? There's even a startup that says, like, their tagline is cheat on everything. Okay. So some people in their mindset will think, hey, the assignment is to type the whole block of text. Why don't I just do this? Andrew, my instructor, won't know if I typed it or copied and pasted it. All these warnings, it's just empty warning. I can ignore the warning and just do this. Some people might think that. And so for my other classes, I usually tell them I will demonstrate how I detect this in the in-person lab session. Now, we don't have an in-person lab session. Let me try it this way. So I'm not gonna tell you on the YouTube edited version of the video how I detect all this. Just as a kind of a low effort barrier, so that I mean, it's not like it's a super secret or anything. So at the end of this session, while still recording, but in a way it's easy to edit out of the YouTube version of the video, let me show you how I detect whether people typed this or not. And so far, all the ones I've graded so far, people have been doing it fine. But in a class of 40, 47 people, I'll be surprised if no one, does it wrong. So the way you should do it is, what the instruction says. Simply type it. I test. Oh wait, do I want to do it? Yeah, I want to do it as test to student. Test to student will make submissions that represent my own work. And I realize people, come with different levels of proficiency, or you might be doing this on your phone, which will take super long. Some people might be as good a typist as I am. Right now, I'm a little bit, slower because I'm kind of being distracted, saying one thing while doing another thing. Maybe I should just focus on this. Let me just focus on this. Not engage in plagiarism, not use outside resources during time assessment, and not engage in any other activities that dishonestly improve my results or dishonestly damage or results of others. When I focus, I can type at about 100 words per minute. So for this length of text, that means some of the fastest submissions can be made in like a minute and a half. Mine will be longer because I was distracting myself. This is the mechanism that allows you to move on while I grade this manually. And at the end of this session, in about 10 minutes, I will show you my grading process. Again, this is going to be edited out of the YouTube version, but people who are in class who have a link to the June version of the recording, you can see the process I go through to grade this. I'll demonstrate that with a test student's attempt so that I'm not revealing anyone's private information. This used to serve a function. As part of my grading system, I used to have a system of red flags that tries to determine when I need to hold one-on-one meeting with certain people. But then I quickly realized that having one-on-one meetings be kind of contingent on whether I suspect somebody, it made the people nervous. So now what I do is the one-on-one meeting, it's required of everyone. And I will describe in about 5 minutes what I kind of envision. This is one of the changes I made about 3 years ago for my other classes, so I haven't really done this with this class. So I have some ideas, some of which will work, some of which won't work, and we'll both figure out how well this goes. The in-person version of the meeting, I'm 100% sure it works well, even for this class. It's the online version that I still have to figure out how well it'll work. So let me do this. This again, I think you saw earlier when we were in modules view. It has contribute requirements, so unless I contribute, I won't be able to proceed. So let me do this. This is a great discussion. So yeah, let me. Hi, my name is Andrew Park. Whenever you see test student in these graded discussions, for which there aren't that many. There's this one and one more, and getting rid of a lot of the graded discussions we used to have. Discussions, it's me, your instructor, clearing the module requirements for the test student. I prefer to go by Andrew. You should always ask your instructor, because there are some instructors in universities especially where people don't like that. I'm fine with my first name. But if you are uncomfortable with the first name basis, you can call me Mr. Park. And I was saying before we started recording, I never finished my PhD program at UC Berkeley, so I'm not a Dr. Park. And Professor, yeah, I'm an instructor. That's my official job title. So you could call me Instructor Park, then you'll be like my dean and tell, referring to me by title and last name. Andrew is fine. If not, Mr. Park is fine. That's sort of a default appellation for teachers. So my name, and so I am teaching this class, not taking it. This is the first semester in a long while I had the opportunity to teach this class again. Last time was in spring 2021 in the midst of the pandemic. I think the requirements weren't really being loosened until middle of that year. I remember in spring 2021 I was teaching basically the only in-person lab class here in the midst of the pandemic, and I'm excited to teach it again. As I've said elsewhere, this class was my introduction to online teaching. I've learned a lot both through on-the-job training, quote unquote, and through the colleagues I have met at online teaching conference. It's at onlineteachingconference.org. It's actually California Community College thing. It doesn't look that way from title alone, unless you look at this logo. Like half the people there are community college instructors, and there's a lot of things I've learned there. The online teaching conference. Also, since I'm not teaching physics 4C in a while, I can honestly say this is my favorite class to teach. I don't get to talk about modern physics in any of my other classes now. Before it was like tie between physics 4C and physics 10. And so let's see. That's why you are taking this class. Let me just answer. I'll just do a version of this. I guess in lieu of talking about my intended major, I'll just briefly say I went to UC Berkeley both for undergrad, grad, and grad school. I majored in physics and pure mathematics, and in graduate school, my research advisors group worked on experimental AMO, atomic, molecular, and optical physics projects, mostly in the areas of precision measurement and atomic magnetometers. I've been teaching since 2006, first as technically UGSI at Cal, since and I taught this class for the first time back in 2016, inheriting it in its online form from my predecessor. I think I can say her name. It's all public info. Patty Dai. She was the full-time physics instructor here who retired, and I'm very lucky to be here full-time after Patty. Yeah, I guess Dr. Tsai, she actually does have a PhD, like me. Um, so, any other questions? Please let me know. Okay, and after I reply, I'm gonna be very careful not to let it scroll down. If I let it scroll down, then I have to blur out names for the the YouTube version of this video. So okay, yeah, I won't scroll down further because that has your names, and I want to make sure that I don't I don't have to blur those out for the YouTube version. So let me do this survey in a way that you shouldn't, but I'm just gonna clear this requirement just so that I can. And I'll delete this response later. I actually don't have any other way to, this has a score requirement, so I probably could set a score for test student to, let me just, I think that's probably enough. And now I please ask you to spend like 10-15 minutes to do this in good faith. Don't do what I'm doing as my worst student. But I'm just clearing the requirement so that the getting started module has been cleared. Now, with that cleared, there are certain things I can access in modules. Like this is what what you should work on next. But I want to make sure that I show some of the upcoming items. So, like after finishing up the getting started module, if you scroll way down, you're gonna see past week 5, I think, this under construction note. It's because I'm doing really big reorganization of the course material. So if you're interested, you can come here and take a look at it. Not restricted in any way. Let me leave student view so that I can give you some sense of the reorganization. I think a lot of it is to your benefit because the course is much more streamlined, the assignments are simpler, the lectures are better organized. So what you see here is the way the course materials used to be organized. It's a few lecture items, and the problem set, question set used to be kind of split. There used to be an essay assignment, and then the peer grading, and I think the consolidated arrangement up here is smoother. So I'm working on that, and as I'm doing that, because there's just so many different changes, I've unpublished all these so that I don't have any issue of people jumping ahead and kind of, these my open math assignments, once someone starts, then kind of locks it in. I don't want to avoid this, so they are all unpublished. And my goal is to kind of progress at about 1 module per week on my part. And there's first 5 weeks are already available, so that means I should stay ahead of you by about a month, reorganizing all this material, and hopefully that none of you will have to worry about what this note means. Let's see. We don't have a lot of time remaining, so let me just get a couple things on record. So one of these pages you can see right now, it's under Physics 10 grading standards, and I guess with the limited amount of time I have, let me not spend too much time on this page other than to just to emphasize what I have in the parting reminder summary. Sometimes people worry about grading arrangement for a class, and this is what I will tell you. My main worry, as indicated up here, is really people who cheat. And with all the generative AI stuff, in terms of the arms race of people trying to cheat on the written assignments, and we instructors trying to catch it, I think that particular battlefield has been lost on our part. I don't trust in my own ability to distinguish between dishonestly completed work and honestly completed work in terms of the written work. I still want to assign grades that are representative of your understanding of physics, and I don't want my effort to catch the cheaters to result in a situation that's stressful for honest people. And what I will tell you to everyone, both the honest people and dishonest people, is as long as you treat all the written work as basically practice, for the required one-on-one meeting that we'll be holding, you will be adequately prepared. So when you work through the question set, make sure you understand your answers, make sure you can reproduce any of them in a future meeting with some, notification and preparation time. As long as you treat all the written work as practice, you won't have wasted time. And my recommendation to you is to hold the required one-on-one meeting as soon as possible, so that in case any of this is anxiety this thing, you have as much time as possible to change anything that you need to change. And there's one page that you will see, I think in week 4, that I will show you right now on recording, so that if you want to read it, on your own time, you can. I think I put it. I put it in week 3, I think. Yeah, I put it pretty early on, because this is the last of the weeks when you are, last of the weeks when you are covering topics. So require the one-on-one meetings for this class. That's a page that you will see as a part of the week 3 module. And some of the details we'll kind of have to figure out as we go. In-person version of the meeting, I've been doing this for 2.5 years with the Physics 4A. That's really the grading setting where I'm super confident that I can figure out what you know. I can make sure the grade that you receive will be fair, that it accurately represents your understanding of physics. And if people are nervous, they worry, like in-person meeting, I think you should only worry if you plan to cheat. If you don't plan to cheat, then got nothing to worry about. The Zoom version, I worry because my Physics 4A people, they can't do this online. They have to do it in person. And it's because, I see them in person in lab. So, of course, you can come in person. With this class, this is a 100% online class. So I do want to make sure that Zoom option is available while expressing preference for the in-person version. So some of these meeting logistics we'll figure out as we go. And let me scroll down the rest of the page so that people can read this kind of in slowly if you want to. It's going to be in recording, so you can pause the recording and read it. And I'll just highlight one portion and then kind of start to wrap up this meeting. I'm already over time. So all this. I don't know if these rule patches will come up with this class. Each one of these have a particular instance in mind, and it was with the Physics 4B last semester, and I don't know, it's probably not going to come up. The portion where I want to make sure it's displayed and I explain some of the things is what we cover at this meeting. And this is where I tell you, you really have nothing to worry about as long as you work through all the written work honestly, making sure that you learn. And honestly doesn't necessarily mean that you never used AI. In fact, one of our first graded discussion is learning with AI. If you're using AI to help you learn, that's totally fine with me. In the required one-on-one meeting, what I'm going to be asking you to do in what I'm calling the standard track, so I'm going to be asking you to simply resolve some of the homework questions that you have already seen and solved. So this will necessarily focus more on the calculation questions, but I might also ask you about some of the multiple choice questions, ask you to explain your choice. But it really comes down to, in the standard track, all I need to see you do is be able to do homework questions again. That's where I'm saying, as long as you treated those homework questions like a practice for the meeting, you'll be well prepared. And in the standard track, if you're trying to get an A, we'll need multiple meetings, probably 2-3 meetings, which I think it might actually be even easier with the Zoom option. Now, if you're gonna be doing it on Zoom, you do need some sort of like technical requirements. That's the part that I need to figure out. If I do encourage you to schedule it in person. In-person meetings are a lot better in many different senses. One thing I will say is that there is something called accelerated track. This is how I originally envisioned this meeting actually 2.5 years ago. For the accelerated track, I'm only going to do this in person. This won't be available on Zoom. It mainly has to do with the goal for the accelerated track is different. goal for the accelerated track is basically trust. At the end of a successful meeting, I tell you this meeting authenticates your written work, and I can finish grading you based on your written work. And I don't think I will ever be able to say that in a Zoom meeting. So, so if you want to do accelerated track and you are local, you can be here in person, then great. Let's do an in-person meeting, and we have to do this only once. And assuming it's successful, I can finish grading you based on your written work. So that's the grading approach. Again, this is the page that you will see in week 3. If there are any questions, let me know. I do think earlier on I said something about not liking answering grading questions, but I do realize like what's part of my job requirement. I can't refuse to answer grading questions. I don't like it. But I get that some people want some clarifications, and I'll do as much as possible. From my perspective, the main importance is the required one-on-one meeting that helps me evaluate you in a way that I don't have to wonder, is this coming from AI? Because in the one-on-one meeting, I can better ensure that what I'm seeing comes from you. Okay, so I think that's everything I needed to cover in this meeting. Let me just make sure I didn't forget anything on the agenda. And after plenty of kind of editing reminders to myself, I will demonstrate how I know if someone's already cheated on the honor code pledge, no less. So I did a course demo. Yeah, I think I did enough of it. There's I think I didn't do the week 1 materials, but I think a lot of it is kind of self-explanatory, hopefully. So I think hopefully as you go through it, all of that will be intuitive. Oh, I guess lecture 1 is the first my open math lecture item. When you access it, it should just work, and the lecture video is linked from here, and I already muted it, and you can skip around, but I do encourage you to actually watch the videos, not just skip to the questions and answer the questions. I made it a little bit harder compared to previous way the questions are written. Now there's a fill in the blank, so you kind of have to watch the lecture video to know this well. Although sometimes you can guess solar system model is wrong, I think. But I'm guess it's my own lecture. I know this already. All right, yeah. So